On June 4, 1989, an event occurred in China, commonly known as the Tiananmen Square incident. This event saw a large number of students killed by the Chinese government. It also gave rise to the famous tank man image that became a hot topic on the internet. On the same day, on the other side of the world, another communist regime fell. In today's video, we will briefly introduce how Poland became the first country to successfully overthrow a communist government in 1989. If this is your first time tuning into our channel, the primary focus here is to provide critical perspectives on historical or societal controversial events, offering insightful descriptions and commentary. If you're interested, please consider subscribing to our channel and turning on the notification bell. Let's get started. Poland's brief history. Poland, situated in Central Europe, has a long and storied history. It was once one of the most prosperous and populous countries in European history. However, in the past few centuries, Poland has faced numerous hardships. It has been invaded, partitioned, and even ceased to exist as a nation. After World War I, it regained its independence, only to be invaded by the Nazi regime shortly thereafter, suffering some of the heaviest casualties in terms of population during World War II. But Poland's ordeal did not end there. After World War II, it came under the iron-fisted rule of a communist government supported by the Soviet Union. Like all other communist authoritarian states, Poland experienced workers' and student movements, as well as numerous instances of bloody suppression and political persecution. Finally, in the elections of June 4, 1989, Poland emerged victorious, becoming the first country in Eastern Europe to overthrow its communist regime and transition towards democracy. Communist regime takes power. Let's begin with the rise of the communist regime in Poland. After World War II, the eastern territories of Poland were annexed by the Soviet Union, and the internal government and elections were controlled by the Soviets, disregarding the exiled government abroad. Even before the communist regime came to power in Poland, there were hundreds of anti-communist individuals killed and tens of thousands detained. In 1948, the parties supported by the Soviet Union merged to form the Polish United Workers' Party and initiated one-party rule. In 1952, the country was renamed the People's Republic of Poland, and in 1955, the Warsaw Pact was signed in Warsaw, with Poland joining the organization led by the Soviet Union, further solidifying the socialist bloc in Eastern Europe. The tragedies of communist rule tend to follow a similar pattern, as mentioned in previous videos. This might be familiar to many, so I'll keep it brief. The Polish United Workers' Party closely aligned its policies with the Soviet Union, implementing a planned economy and a typical socialist regime with a strong dictatorship. Bloody suppression. In fact, shortly after the communist regime took power in Poland, in 1956, there were large-scale anti-government protests within the country. However, these protests were brutally crushed by the government, resulting in a violent suppression. Just like all communist regimes, the planned economy in Poland led to severe economic stagnation, and the people suffered from high prices and a lack of basic necessities. Until 1970, due to the sudden and significant increase in food and commodity prices by the Polish government, a leaderless large-scale protest erupted in December. This protest spread across 4 cities in northern Poland, including Gdansk. The Polish government responded by quickly deploying the military with heavy tanks and machine guns to suppress the protests. This tragic event resulted in 44 fatalities, over 1,000 people injured, and more than 3,000 arrests. It sowed the seeds of the downfall of the Polish Communist Party. Following the Gdansk Agreement, the Polish communist regime continued to intensify its authoritarian rule. Dissidents and even those expressing minor dissatisfaction faced persecution, with many being executed, sent to re-education camps, or exiled to Siberia. By July 1980, during another economic crisis, the Polish government again cut wages and raised prices. At the Gdansk shipyard, Anna Walentowicz, a workers' leader, was dismissed, further fueling the anger of the workers. In mid-August, Lech Walesa, a worker who had initiated a signature campaign 4 years earlier in support of the 1970 protests and was also dismissed, returned to the shipyard to lead a strike. Initially, the demands of the strike were focused on rehiring Anna and Lech, securing workers' rights, and other basic social demands. However, due to the harsh social conditions, the strike movement rapidly spread nationwide. By August 22, the Inter-Factory Strike Committee, led by the Gdansk shipyard, presented 21 demands. Due to widespread domestic support and international attention, on August 31, the Polish government accepted these conditions and signed the famous Gdansk Agreement. Solidarity Union. In mid-September, the national workers' organization called the Solidarity Union, led by Lech Walesa, was officially established. This marked the first and official independent labor union in Eastern Europe under communist rule, and a significant milestone in Europe's struggle to break free from communist governance. Over the next 2 years, the Solidarity Union evolved into a social movement, with approximately 1/10 of the country's population, around 10 million people, joining Solidarity or its affiliated groups. To avoid government suppression through force, Solidarity advocated for non-violent resistance and used strikes and other protest actions to force the government to change its policies. However, under pressure from the Soviet Union, in October 1981, the then Minister of National Defense and Prime Minister, Wojciech Jaruzelski, who advocated for the use of force, took over as the first secretary of the Polish United Workers' Party. On December 13, he declared martial law, which had been in preparation for almost 2 years, and cracked down on the Solidarity Union. This led to the detention of key union leaders, including Wiesa, and the arrest of thousands of supporters. Subsequent strikes and protest activities were violently suppressed, and at that time, the international community widely condemned the Polish government while expressing support for Solidarity. The United States also imposed economic sanctions on Poland in response. In October 1982, the Solidarity Union was declared illegal, and in November, Lech Walesa was released. However, in December, the Polish secret police conducted a large-scale arrest of over 10,000 Solidarity Union supporters, forcing union activities to go underground. Soviet reforms. It wasn't until 1985, when Mikhail Gorbachev came to power in the Soviet Union and initiated domestic and foreign policy reforms, that the situation began to change. As mentioned in previous videos on the reasons for the fall of the Soviet Union, Gorbachev introduced the policies of glasnost and perestroika, which loosened control over the entire Eastern European communist bloc. These reforms played a significant role in the eventual collapse of the Soviet Union. You can watch more about this by clicking here. In September 1986, Poland released a large number of political prisoners, and Lech Walesa once again organized the Solidarity Union. Although Solidarity Union activities resumed across the country, its members continued to face pressure and persecution from the Polish government. Collapse of the communist system. By 1988, Poland's economic situation had deteriorated further, leading to a new wave of strikes in April. In August, the government announced its willingness to negotiate. However, within the union, there were differences between those who favored negotiations and those who supported anti-communist revolution. Ultimately, under the leadership of Lech Walesa, the union decided to engage in peaceful negotiations. From February to April 1989, the Polish United Workers' Party and opposition groups, including the Solidarity Union, held the round-table talks. During these talks, they reached important agreements that led to the formal legalization of the Solidarity Union, the transformation of the country into a presidential system, and the establishment of parliamentary democracy. On June 4, 1989, elections were held in Poland. Although these elections were not entirely democratic, with 65% of the 460 seats in the Sejm, the lower house of the Polish parliament, predetermined for the Polish United Workers' Party and its affiliated parties, the remaining seats were subject to democratic elections. Surprisingly, the Solidarity Union won all of the remaining 35% of Sejm seats and 99% of Senate seats. Recognizing the shift in power, the puppet parties affiliated with the Polish United Workers' Party also changed their allegiance and formed a coalition government with the Solidarity Union. The election results directly led to the first non-Polish United Workers' Party prime minister since the communist regime came to power. On December 29, the parliament passed a constitutional amendment, changing the country's name back to the Republic of Poland. In January 1990, the Polish United Workers' Party held its 11th Congress, during which it declared its dissolution, putting an end to the 42-year rule of the Communist Party in Poland. In December of the same year, Lech Walesa was elected as the president of Poland with a significant majority of the votes. The June 4, 1989 elections marked a historic moment as Poland became the first country in Europe to overthrow a one-party communist regime, heralding the beginning of democratization in Eastern Europe. In addition, there are several key external factors that contributed to Poland's success. For example, the Soviet Union was preoccupied with its internal political issues during this period. Simultaneously, there were separatist movements in the Soviet republics of the Baltic states, Ukraine, and others, along with economic factors, which further distracted the Soviet leadership. Another crucial factor was the support of Pope John Paul II, who hailed from Poland. The backing of the Catholic Church is considered one of the significant external factors contributing to the success of Poland's democratization, and consequently the broader democratization of Eastern Europe. Lastly, even though Poland has already overthrown its communist regime more than 30 years ago, the process of decommunization, addressing the crimes committed by the Polish United Workers' Party, and correcting the errors made during the 42 years of communist rule continues to this day. If other remaining communist authoritarian states can undergo a rebirth, the task of cultural restoration may prove to be even more arduous and protracted. That's all for today's video. The road to overthrowing the communist regime in Poland was long, marked by numerous sacrifices, bloodshed, and failures. However, when the right moment came, with both domestic and external factors aligned, success only needed one attempt. Anyway, if you have any insights on the June 4th event in Poland, which led to the successful overthrow of the communist regime, or if you have any additional information to share, please leave your comments below to discuss with everyone. If you want to continue supporting this channel, remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to ensure you don't miss any episodes. Lastly, if being radical is the new norm, and objectivity is considered heretical, perhaps we should be radically objective. Until next time, stay curious and stay unconventional.